What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Tahyira show. This is Talk 27, and this one is called Too Much and It's Still Not Enough. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Talk 26. It was about how to stay basically all the time. I thought I was going to break up the marriage, like living this millennial life. It's just very not easy, and I think I found a new kind of direction for this YouTube. First part question I asked myself, and I'm asking you guys, have you ever felt that the way in which what you got to do to make money, right? Like even if it's a job that you work for, you went to school for, when I'm working at the DA's office, it's still a job, right? Is it the same judge when you're doing something that's more in your art space or more in your dream life? Let's say you're writing a book, that's you being an artist. Do you spend more time trying to build the side business, the hobby business? What emotional changes do you feel in yourself? For me, just being legit, I went back to teach. Like, let me take a regular cushion job, like take a pay cut. It's like, you don't really, but it's like, okay, I have the education, I have the fingerprints, I have the clearance, I could teach these kids, I'm good, I got hired, it's whatever. But there's a part of me that gets drained. The part of me that gets drained is the part that I can't just be 100% free. The curriculum is written by somebody else, so I'm really just teaching something that somebody else thought about. Okay, yeah, I get to kind of ask my students what it is, but at the end of the day, that in turn burns out because it's like, it's only so much sense I can make of somebody else's nonsense. For example, I teach history in at-risk communities. Let's just start there. When I started teaching, I started in the after-school program. I'm then trying to pivot back towards that because I'm like, activities planning and club planning and trip planning, which is what I did as a history teacher, like take them on trips and fun things, because they don't give history tests because they don't know how to test people for history because we don't know what to teach. It's getting deep. Those kinds of things. So even in my day life, what I'm trying to say, job that is like the mundane part of my life, I've tried my best to be creative. That's just who I am. I've never felt success when it's like, and I've heard a lot of people say this, like, why don't you just work with people and be creative? Like get a job in the studio making other people's music. It will be the same thing. It will be worse for people like me because the little thing that I have when I know I go home is that at least I could drop a song. At least I could when I was working with Frankie's. Like, at least we have an audition to go to. We're about to shoot this little movie on the weekend, and at least we know there's something coming out. Yeah, we have to go back to work, but like in between work, we did all this. It had always been in my blog today. I've broken down how I think it's all tied in, like the generational capitalism kind of reality, thinking that you need to just work and that's your value. And it's like spending time on my YouTube vlog has made me happy. That has brought value to me, maybe not in dollars and cents in that kind of way, but like, definitely helped me get booked. It helped me get, you know what I mean? Why I'm still building it, which other people do as well. You know, YouTube is a corporation. When I first started YouTube, I was a manager putting up my husband at the time, he was my client, boyfriend. It was a certain amount to be at the part where you make money. Since then, every time people get closer, more people get closer, they push the goal. Think about that for a second. I did. Tahyira, how hard do you need to work? You got a master's degree at 23. Most people would just be like, oh my God, like I would just hire you just because of what you've achieved. That's not what it is. The more you do, the further they push it back. Dr. Fauci is another person that I think about. Before COVID came in, he was doing whatever he had to do. Most people don't understand when you work for the public. I had my degree in public administration from a private white school. I was supposed to have a pretty cushy public job though. Didn't happen. It was a recession. I did my internship at the DA's office. I should have had a legal just set up. Didn't happen. They didn't have the salaries. They didn't have money to pay lawyers. When I was going to Long Island-based job fairs, when I was fresh out of college, like fresh journey, this is the people they're looking for. I'm going up there with accountants who are white people, who are white males, let me be clear, in their 40s and 50s. I'm like, how is he at the same job fair with me? It's like, no. It's like some days I would just go there and they just give me a look like, but I would have conversations with people. I was like, what business do you run? Like, why are you guys at job fairs? They're like, well, there's no work. It's a recession. So my understanding of the recession was watching people who had fell from cushy 100K jobs and whatever, and you're trying to get the same job as me and I have no experience. It's like, wait, what? They're definitely not hiring black women over white men in Long Island. That's just not what it is, you know? So that had been my, okay, I got everything done reality. Thank God that I had it in me to change it. And I always go back and be like, I think this is what my life was supposed to be. That's why those things happen. But for me to continually grow in, I have to continually keep talking about everything that happened to all alone out here. What does that mean? Let's find out. Here, I remember struggling to be smart, which is something I still struggle with my whole life. Like when you're educated and you do well and you're not even trying, and people like, oh my God, you're student of the month, you're moving up to the highest class, and you make a big deal out of it. It makes me like, why are you making a big deal out of it? You know, it took me a long time to recognize why being educated and knowledgeful is like something, because a lot of times it's like, I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not getting extra, like I still gotta show up in school every day. I'm not getting anything special for it, right? I'm an Aquarius. I always think like, okay, so what I get now that and it's like nothing. We're just saying is like, as an artist, it's sharing my voice. As a songwriter, some days I'm like, all right, I wrote the song 2 weeks ago. Now let me try to rap it. Takes me another 3 weeks to get the cadence and everything down. Then it becomes something real to me. Like, okay, now that I've done all this, let's drop it outside. Let me put it on Snapchat, see what the girls say. Like, that's my real life process. I think because I started as a dancer, I didn't have to use my voice at all to start moving. You know, I mean, I started in Glee Club, but before Glee Club, I was already in dance. I was already in movement. That's why it was like you could just come and do that. But it was to essentially break up the math league. Being in the honors is like, I need something fun. I need something fun. I'm about the balance. The capitalism kind of world that we live in doesn't really make us see that art can be fulfilling. Or the stories we hear about the artists that were homeless, the Basquiat, this one, whatever, just, just living off art, the starving artist mentality. I think our generation, with Taylor Swift and all of them, because they come up in the research, the Beatles and Beyonce and all these other people, we are a part of that breaking generation. That's why there's people still alive from that generation, right? Like there's people like LL Cool J just dropped a song. I've recognized that my unhappiness and the bipolar and the triggers and everything is like all of my psychosis episodes came at the time where I was running out of rent. I didn't have money to eat. It was like surviving on a thin, very thin line, and it's not because like I did anything wrong. It's just what it is. Not born rich. You just run out. Even when you have a partner, even when, and I say it all the time, I Google things like falling onto hard times and how you survive and whatever. Obviously I didn't survive. I crashed on top of just my own understanding, my own frustration. How I tied in the bipolar disorder to the generational wealth gap is that the minute I take away the what do you bring to the table financially, I'm a different person. The confidence and the person that people see is like, I walk like I'm earning $1 million when it's like I'm earning no bucks. The minute I start thinking like, well, the salary is like 70 grand. Like, I mean, I don't get it. And or you'll hear somebody else like, well, I'm earning, someone who you think is less qualified to you, especially, right? Like, well, I'm earning this is how comes up a lot in acting, in film and TV. And it's like, how come people who aren't talented get further than people who are, I feel like that about just the other day I tweeted about, and I don't like to hate on anybody or even name drop, but there's artists that are at the top of their field. And it's like they're parading the same naked auction block slavery shit. And it's like, we'll never make space for anything else if every single person at the top of the rap game is like like a naked girl on a chain, kind of, sort of. It's like what you can't see is the chain, but you do see the twerking, the parading around, and it's like, who's puppeting this shit? Like somebody tells them like, well, this is what people want to see, and it's like, is it? Like, is it? Or this is what you want to show, or that you can rise above the rest of us by doing this, so you do it. Whereas like you're actually promoting hurt and things that we should be kind of pushing out of our what we accept, because we already came through being naked and being on literal chains and whatever. So again, it's like just wherever you are in your life and your consciousness or whatever is what you see and what you understand. I really got tore up, you guys. Taylor wrote 67 songs, credited just to her. Like I said, a lot of them, they said, came up on the Tortured Poets Department, which is the album that she just put out. Before then, she was like co-writing and not getting full credit. But it's Taylor Swift. She's a woman that we know right now fought for not just herself, but other songwriters, other music creators from the space, fighting against the computer companies, Apple, Spotify, the internet, whatever, to make sure artists were earning clearly a lot more than cents, which is going to bring me back to the 5,000 songs. Even if you crunch yourself in numbers, it's still not going to add up because of capitalism. My 27 songs, let's say I move it up to 30 to just make it a whole number. Let's say each song earns 10 cents, and it doesn't. Each song earns it has to stream like 1,000 times before it even starts earning. Let's say at that point it starts earning at 5 cents. But I'm going to give it 10. Let's crunch it here. Let's make sure I don't F it up. I feel like it's 30. It's either $3 or $30. $3. It's $3. That's 30 songs at 10 cents a stream per song. Like, even if nobody ever listens to the song and I got it and I play it, this is how much I can earn from it. I calculate that by 5,000. And again, this is just me putting it out there. I'm not saying whatever, every song blows up and whatever. Like, again, each song has to already stream for free for it to get to there. Let's do the 5,000 times the 10 cents, which I already inflated. That's $500. So yeah, so we build our businesses and our nonprofits and whatever you're doing your music business and whatever, we take our things very seriously. That is what we're supposed to do. I've always been looking at, since I started my management career with my husband, how we got to LA, everything that I did, or every job that I had, I told people what I was doing, running the risk of like, don't tell people you got a second job or you're trying to chase dreams, they might fire you. I got fired. It was something like, oh, you think you're a boss already, whatever. That's fine. I know I'm a boss already. I don't think I'm a boss. That's why I'm able to do it. And you're mad. You want workers. That's okay. I don't know if I've ever shared that before, but it's fine. Like, one of the other things that came up in the millennial research and the things that drive us and what we're about, like our personality class, is that we're into things that help us learn and grow, which is why I believe the T-Slave sound and all these other things is not something that's like super, oh my God, what's going on? It's like everybody has said, for the most part, like, wow, this is different. You should definitely keep going. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, you have a voice, you have a niche, like you have you know what I mean? The whole conscious level of just knowledge sharing and just nation building and just thinking outside of the box, being creative in that kind of way, getting people to listen to something that was different, is definitely the artists that I grew up with, right? The Missy Elliott's, even like the Aaliyahs, may she rest in peace, even the artists like Amy Winehouse, and everybody, no one was trying to, like, I guess, be like anybody else. Even when Destiny's Child and them came out, and I remember like Bills. I'm like, I'd never heard an R&B song like this though. Like the lyrical, the instruments, and I'm like, did you hear what they said? Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bills? I never heard it before. When we heard pop music like Backstreet Boys and shit, I'm like, even though all these songs are different, they kind of sound the same, but I like them all. I don't know what they're doing in pop, but like, I'm a genie in a bottle, baby, stop. Yeah. Like, that's the I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. Thanks. Every day. Every single day. We also want to be around things that essentially, when we look back, which is the funny part about us when it comes to like, let's compare it with Gen X and our parents, right? What our parents want. I want you guys to settle down and save money to be okay. And it's like, what if I build my everyday life making the world okay, so that I don't have to worry so much about when I get there? I can go back and just tap into the societies I built. I'm trying to build schools in California, right curriculum, right? The 3rd grade to the 12th grade, and probably into college, kind of like extended learning or whatever, for history. I think the non-teaching of history, the non-understanding of amendments and the Bill of Rights and constitutional law and poli-sci, political science, and pushing English and math ahead of history and sociology and psychology is not what the generation coming up needs. They have a higher emotional intelligence, so they're going to require to be thought-provoking, but to get a generation to be thought-provoking, you have to drive them that way. You know what I mean? Again, we didn't just grow up with books and whatever. We also had the creativity of the internet. Creativity is intelligence having fun.